Hello, Kirk McDowell here with ContributionSelling.com. Welcome. Today's question that I'm going to answer is how to create a sales training program. So, how to create a sales training program. So, I've created a number of sales training programs for myself and others. And the first thing I look at is what is the sales environment, right? There's lots of different ways you could distinguish a selling environment. Commodity to educational. For example, I started off in the copier business, right? Very competitive, a lot of fun in the mid 80s. And that's a commodity sale. Like when you are talking to someone about purchasing a copier, they pretty much understand that they need a copier, and what they're choosing is from which one to buy and from whom to buy it, right? So that's a commodity. I know I need it. I'm trying to get the best deal, best situation possible. An educational sale. A few years later, I was in the recruiting industry. I had a recruiting company, and I specialized in recruiting salespeople for local and national companies, right? And national companies often understood they needed a recruiter, so that was kind of a commodity sale. They're trying to choose which recruiter to use. But I also did business with a lot of local companies. And they typically had never used a recruiter or never really thought about it. There was no budget, there was no process, there was no correct person to go to send the recruiter to and all that, right? So it was an educational sale. I had to kind of start at the beginning and create a value proposition about why allowing me to assist a company in finding their salespeople was really going to pay for itself, like big time, right? So that's an educational sale. Another way to differentiate the sales environment: are you selling to people, or are you selling to companies, right? Commonly known as B2C, business to consumer. I don't like that word consumer, but if you're selling to individuals or if you're selling to companies, right? Very different environment. Are people coming to you, to your place of business, or to your retail establishment, or are you going to people's homes or people's businesses? Very different sales environment. Are you selling a large upfront expenditure, like big piece of capital equipment, like a copier, or are you selling a recurring monthly service, right? All very different kinds of environments. Typically, who I work with now are coaches and business consultants, people who are selling their expertise, their experience, their ability to solve problems, right? And so that's generally an educational sale, right? Although some people know they want to coach and they're differentiating between coaches, a lot of people will meet a coach and think to themselves, that person could make a difference for me. And then the coach would engage with that individual and kind of create the opportunity that it might be to work with the coach. That's sort of being a coach can be a commodity sale or an educational sale, depending on your niche and the problem that you're here to solve, right? Some coaching is sold to individuals. Some coaching is sold to businesses. Again, kind of different, right? Sometimes a coaching sale is a big upfront cost for several months. Sometimes it's month to month. So even in the same industry, the selling environment can be unique. Okay, so first thing you want to do is kind of get dialed in. What's the selling environment you want this sales training program to train people to do, right? Because different selling environments require entirely different skills, and they all require some of the same skills, right? So sales training program. So first thing I would do is in creating a sales training program is really get clear what the selling environment is, who the audience is, who the target audience is, who's the tribe that we're going to serve, who are we serving, and what problem are we solving, right? So, and then, so as we get past the subtleties of what type of selling environment we're talking about, then there are some basic moves in a selling situation, right? So there's usually something pre-sales oriented, usually marketing materials, business card, brochure, a general approach to how we're going to sell this product or service, like that's marketing, right? The pre-frame of how we relate to, talk about our audience, our customer, our product, our service, etc. And then after the pre-sales, the marketing, there's generally something called like prospecting, right? Or, uncovering new opportunities, right? And some of that's like, I started off, in the copier business in New Orleans in the 80s. So I was literally, with a notebook in hand, walking from high rise to high rise, starting at the top of the rise, cold calling my way all the way down, elevator down to each floor, and hitting every business, and with just a quick little, hey, I'm going to be next door, showing so and so a copier. Would you like to take a quick look? Now, I'm not really recommending that. That's just where I started, 30 something years ago. Goodness. Anyway, let's see. So there's pre-framing. There's the marketing part, like before you show up. There's prospecting. There's presenting. There's like sitting down with someone, or being on the phone with someone, or being on Zoom, being on video with someone, right? A conference call. And there is, opening up the conversation, right? Which is which is first of all like credibility and safety, and you're the real deal. You're an actual resource for this individual or for this company. You're safe, credible, real deal, relevant, safe, credible, and relevant. I guess I'd call that. You are diagnosing professionally what the situation is that you're there to, diagnosing professionally what the problem is there that you're there to solve. For example, if you went into a doctor's office and just as you were, walking in the door, the doctor hands you a prescription, right? That would be a cause for concern, because the doctor really has no idea what it is that's bothering you, what your issue is, right? So a key component of being a professional is being a diagnostician, being really good at diagnosing stuff, right? So you want to be able to engage with an individual and have a conversation in which what opens up is, what's important to them, what are they dealing with, what's the issue, what's the problem, what have they tried to do to resolve the problem already, how much is the problem costing them, how much have they spent trying to resolve it, with whom have they worked with in the past, if anyone, et cetera, and you want to get a really clear picture of what they're dealing with, like really what they're dealing with, right? And then as you get a really clear picture of what they're dealing with, you want to really be clear that your listening skills are incomplete. And I know that because you're a human being, right? So you want to really confirm what got said and the importance of each piece, right? So it would be like, okay, we spent 5 or 10 minutes, you sharing with very generously, answering my questions and helping me diagnose the issue. Let me just read some of this back to you and make sure I really got it. And then as you go through the points, you're really demonstrating your professionalism, your interest, your care, your thoroughness, and trying to solve the problem, right? And then if you get something wrong, that's good. They correct it. That's beautiful. You don't resist that. Don't argue like, no, this is what you said. No, don't do that. Just let yourself be corrected. Dial in the issue. Don't be right about anything. And then as you dial in the issue, if you're a professional, by the way, any sales training, anybody that I work with, any sales training that I'm associated with in any way, has a basic assumption that you are the real deal and of real value to people, right? So I won't work with anyone or share with anyone who I feel is nefarious in any way, sort of like out to do evil to people, right? Which is essentially very common in the sales industry. Unfortunately, you have a lot of very enthusiastic individuals kind of doing anything to get the deal, right? Which is why there's resistance to salespeople. I'll get to that in just a minute, right? So we're up to the diagnostic. You're reading back what they said. You're proving that you listened and you're a professional and you took notes and you're thorough and you have some interest and care. And then as they get a sense that you actually understand what their issue is, and as you confirm you actually understand what their issue is, now's your shot. You're the real deal, and you probably now have a really good idea of what a brilliant solution could be, right? It's like, hey, I think I have something for you. Can I share it with you? Can I lay this on you? And like, if you've done your job, you're safe, credible, you're relevant, you've listened, you've demonstrated you've listened, you haven't been a pain in the butt, you've been respectful, and you have not interrupted, and you've been really great to be with, and real professional, right? And you ask them, hey, I think I have a solution for you. Can I share it with you? They're gonna say yes. And once they say yes, it's kind of a magical moment, right? Because then you have an opening as wide as a Mack truck within which to, build your case, right? And once they said yes, you've asked permission to share, and they said yes, let it rip. Let your enthusiasm and your the depth of your commitment. Just let that show and let it rip and let them have it, right? And then, don't get fancy, right? They're going to have questions. Don't handle objections. Nobody likes to be handled. If you have any doubt about that, just notice how much you like to be handled, right? So don't handle objections, answer questions, and answer them, in a transcendent manner. Like, answer their questions beautifully so that they're inspired, they're ready to move forward, they're engaged, they like what they're hearing, right? Don't get into a confrontation. Handling objections. If you're handling objections, you've already lost because it's adversarial, right? You might get the deal, but it'll be through arm twisting and pushing and pulling and that kind of stuff. And that's no longer like really how business is done anymore, right? So, you lay it on them and like, hey, what do you think? You want to move forward? You want to do this, right? And then they may have some more questions, and you answer the questions and go, hey, do you want to do this? And they go, hey, I want to think about it. You go, great. Well, what would you like me to do? Like, don't beat people up, don't push people, don't force, don't push, pull, none of that stuff, right? All right, so there's just some nice little tidbits there. So that's the answer to the question, how would I create a sales training program? And then I've got some beautiful free training available for you at ContributionSelling.com. It's my gift to you. The link's right below. And I hope this has been valuable to you. Thanks a lot.